We've got one basketball card that snuck in this week, and the rest is football. I'll review all of them today with you on the top 5 cards. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Top 5 Cards going up. My name is Tyler Nethercott, better known as Teapot, and we've got a bunch of football cards going up this week, and I'm going to break them all down for you today. But before I do, I've got to let you know we are running some Black Friday specials at Cards HQ. For all the details on that, just visit cardshq.com and make sure while you're there to get on our email list to find out whenever we're running big deals on cards, supplies, and other things. But head over to cardshq.com to find out all the deals on packs, boxes, supplies, and more. And today's top 5 is sponsored by Whatnot. Whatnot has awesome live auctions every day and night, starting at just $1 for packs, boxes, breaks, singles, and more. It's a lot of fun, and if you scan the QR code on your screen or use the special link in our show description below, you'll get $15 in free credit when you sign up for Whatnot. Now let's take a look at the overall sports card market with Market Pulse by Market Movers. Over the last 7 days, the SCI 500 index of 500 of the most prominent sports cards is up 0.4%. Over the last 30 days, the SCI 500 is down 1.3%, and since January 1st of this year, it is up 2.3%. The best performing category of cards over the last 30 days is hockey from 1990 to 1999, which is up 19.4%. And the worst performing category is basketball from 2018 to 2020, which is down 7.7%. Now, as a reminder, the cards you'll see in today's show have gone up in price recently, but they are not necessarily good investments right now. Always do your own research to decide which cards you think will go up in value next. All right, as always, we're starting out this week with a cold card, and this time around it is Dak Prescott, the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys have had a season full of challenges as they have a 4-7 record after Week 12. And they came into this season as, well, betting Super Bowl contenders, not necessarily contenders in most people's minds given the playoff challenges that they've had over the last decade plus. But they were viewed to be a team that should be strong, and instead they're 4-7. And one of the more recent challenges was the loss of Dak Prescott for the rest of the season. Prescott suffered a hamstring injury in their Week 9 matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. And all cards tracked by Market Movers for Prescott are now down 11.7% collectively over the last 30 days. So what I want to do is start out, and I'm going to throw some stats into this video just to sort of mix it up a little bit and just show some comparisons, because I think it's important to have perspective, historical perspective, in fact. So here's Dak Prescott, and we're looking at his career so far up to this point. And then what I did is I pulled in a couple other guys who just came to mind. Russell Wilson, up through that same milestone. So if we're looking here, I'm looking at their first through their 9th seasons in the NFL. And then I threw Philip Rivers on here. A little bit of a tale of 2 stories. Rivers never won a championship. Russ obviously has won a couple. But, you know, a couple of guys that kind of came to mind whose stats might be similar. And obviously the total game's a little bit different, so I like to look at yards per game. Dak averaging more passing yards per game than both Russell Wilson and Philip Rivers to this point in his career. Russ with a slight edge on passing touchdowns, but again, that's in 6 more games, so they're probably about right on par. Overall, just kind of looking at these, I want to know what stands out to you, because I look at these things and I say, where's the trajectory for players long term? We obviously, on this video, a lot of times are looking at a very, very short-term view, 30 days, sometimes 14 days, sometimes a little bit longer, to see who's moving recently. But the truth is, long-term trajectory, many of these players, well, they just can't sustain the prices that they had that entire time. And so if I shift over and I look at Dak Prescott, I'm going back to the high point, albeit during a period that we may very well probably never see again in our lives, during the jet fuel period of COVID when prices surged and went crazy. But you can see Dak, who was viewed to be at that time one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He was obviously Rookie of the Year in 2016 in that season when he and both he and Ezekiel Elliott broke out. And his cards have just come down massively for a guy who's had a borderline Hall of Fame statistical caliber career, comparing him to Russell Wilson and Philip Rivers. So you got Dak Prescott, who's down 90% on his Prism Silver PSA 10 from the high point a few years ago. Now again, I would say that those prices were inflated in many cases 2, 3, sometimes 5x what they would normally be in a healthy market. Down 82% on his autograph, 88%, 53%. So a lot of big shifts. So if we zoom in over the last 30 days, we're still seeing big price drops down 52% on his Prism Silver PSA 10 just over the last 30 days, down 33% on his Prism Rookie Autograph, which is obviously, it's a pretty nice looking card as Prism Rookie Autographs go. Here's his Optic Purple down 11% and his base Crown Royale down 17%. So seeing this injury to Dak and then losing as a team, this for me seems like that point when card speculators, and I'll call them speculators as opposed to investors in this case, are kind of finally losing confidence. They're shifting away from Dak and probably moving on to some of the new shiny objects, some of whom we might see today. So this week, our cold card is Dak Prescott. All right, now we shift gears to our investment card of the week. These are always the cards that have a little more staying power. I'm using that word investment to say long-term holds. A lot of these cards tend to go up over time, long-term view, and tend to be a little more reliable and secure in the big picture. So we're looking at Larry Bird this week, obviously the legend, Larry Legend of the Boston Celtics, widely regarded as one of the greatest players in NBA history. Most people still have him on their top 10 list, if they're true basketball fans, some might say. Bird spent his entire career with the Celtics and was able to bring home 3 NBA championships. He's known for his exceptional shooting, passing, and rebounding. He was a 12-time NBA All-Star, and he won 3 consecutive MVP awards. After retiring, Larry became a successful coach and executive for the Indiana Pacers, and to this day, he's the only person in NBA history to win MVP, Coach of the Year, and Executive of the Year honors. You could say this is a guy who definitely knows the game of basketball. So we're looking at his 1981 Topps base card. This is not considered a rookie card. It's considered a second-year card because of the scoring leaders, Bird, Magic, Dr. J, that many consider to be the rookie card. Kind of interesting when you think about it, with the whole debate of Jordan and the 84 Star and the 86 Fleer, and that being a third-year card, but people still call it a rookie card, but they don't consider this as Larry Bird's first standalone card, his rookie. Who knows how that could play out long-term in the public eye. But what I do want to point out here is the massive price premium, massive for the PSA 10. We go back to that junk wax era, and I wouldn't necessarily consider early 80s junk wax, but for lack of a better term, let's call it that. Condition is king. Condition provides this multiple many times over because most of the time you have a singular card that people are looking at. And so the only way they can differentiate to find the best value and the most rare one is the one that has sort of what I call the artificial scarcity of grade. So in this case, that PSA 10, $15,900 having most recently sold on November 21st. We can look over the last 365 days, and you can see there's been some volatility, topped out just under $20,000 and some ebbs and flows, averaging $16,500 for this card over the last year. It's funny to see that 12 copies of this have sold when the card is only pop 68. So 12 copies in the last year. This isn't a card that sells infrequently, as you might think, for a card of that low of a population. There are certainly others with that type of a population that sell far less frequently. What does that say about the card? You let me know down in the comments. So if I look at this and I toggle this off, then you can see sort of the rest of these next best grades equalize. And we've got the PSA 9 at $750. We've got the BGS 9 at $396, SGC 9 at $480. And then you could get into a PSA 8, which honestly is still in most cases probably going to have pretty nice eye appeal, especially if you find one that's well centered, for $165. So this is a very iconic card of one of the best players of all time. It's actually kind of surprising to see how affordable you could get into one of these in a pretty high condition. I don't own any of these cards. I'm not pumping them, but we do believe that this is one of the better, long-term investments for one of the best basketball players of all time. This week, Larry Legend, he's our investment card of the week. All right, moving in to count down our top 5 this week. At number 5, we've got Darius Garland, the guard from the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs finally lost a game after winning their first 15 games of the season. They basically tied for the second best start in NBA history, and then they dropped what turned out to be a really close game versus the Boston Celtics, where they lost by 3 after a fourth quarter attempted comeback. Nevertheless, they're standing at 17-1 as of recording this video, and Garland, alongside Donovan Mitchell, has played a crucial part to the Cavs' hot start to the season. With that being said, you could say it's been a lot of team basketball, which tends to be the true recipe for success in the NBA these days. Now, after a down 2023-24 season, Garland is back to his form from 21 and 22 this year, averaging 20.6 points per game and 7 assists while shooting just under 50% from the field and over 40% from 3. All of his cards as tracked by market movers are up 13.9% collectively over the last 30 days, and during a time when many current active players have been starting to go down in price, as we very often see in the first couple of months of the NBA season. So I'm looking at Darius Garland's stats this year. You can see he's having a really nice season. We can scroll down and look at some of the comparisons, and I mentioned it last year. Last year he didn't have a bad season, but he dropped down to 18 points per game. His three-point percentage was 37%, which was the lowest since his rookie season. Field goal percentage was down a little bit. So you kind of look at a lot of these things, and sales volume, shot volume, and other things. He's just up all around, and sometimes even that incremental difference, 15 to 20% boost in your statistical performance, relative to the stat from a different year, can be a really, really big change, both for a player as well as for their team. So 20 points, 7 assists, and pretty low turnovers at 2.6. Garland's having a really nice, efficient season, and the Cavs are reaping the benefits. So let's jump over and look at some of his cards. We've got his Prism Silver, of course, his PSA 10. That's up 107% over the last 30 days. A lot of times people gravitate early and often to flip these, liquid Prism Silvers, and that's, no surprise here to see that. His Optic Hollow, that card's a lower population, Pop 367. That one is up 110% in the last 30 days. Then we've got his Ruby Wave Prism, another non-numbered parallel, Pop 373, up 325%. And finally, his Red, White, and Blue Prism, still affordable, $27.50 for a PSA 10, Pop 557. That card up 96.4% so far in the last 30 days. So it's interesting. What do you think of a guy like Darius Garland compared to Donovan Mitchell? When we're looking at speculating, a lot of times the guy on a team is the one who gets the spotlight. We saw Donovan Mitchell in the top 5. Was it last week or the week before? He's obviously started out really hot. Garland's kind of number 2. They have other players like Evan Mobley. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out throughout the season. Hard to know where his prices will go from here, but I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. Our number 5 player this week, Darius Garland. All right, at number 4 this week, it's Tommy DeVito, the quarterback now for the New York Giants. The Giants have had one of the most disappointing seasons this year among all NFL teams, although maybe they weren't expected to be as successful as the Cowboys were going into this season. We saw the demotion of Daniel Jones, not down to second, but down to third string. And then as team sources released, they said it was a mutual agreement to allow him to leave. They released him. He's officially cleared waivers. He is now a free agent. Daniel Jones is, after receiving that big contract extension just a few years ago, their top pick. And they've now named Tommy DeVito the starter. Now, DeVito had a magical run with the Giants last year, winning 3 of the 6 games that he started after coming out of nowhere. And unfortunately, he lost the first game that he started this year, Sunday against the Buccaneers, and he didn't exactly have the legendary return that fans were hoping for. He was 21 of 31 passing, decent completion percentage, but only 189 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and he rushed for 32 yards. The Giants managed just 7 points versus the Buccaneers, whose defense has been spotty at times this season. All of DeVito's cards tracked by market movers are up 49.2% collectively over the last 30 days. That's on 54 different cards, totaling 147 sales. And I challenge you, by the way, to go out and find another app beyond market movers that's tracking 54 different Tommy DeVito cards. So let's take a look at some of those cards here. We've got his rookie contenders auto, rookie ticket auto, obviously sticker auto, not the best, in many people's eyes, but still you take what you can get when you're trying to flip and speculate on players. And in this case, this card was down at a low point here, $8.50. Back in October. Now, there's an interesting dynamic that I want to talk about a little bit more here. In season for football, when people like to play the speculation game, backup quarterbacks has been a thing. Many times you can get into these players' cards for very, very cheap. Maybe you pack pulled them and you're like, this guy's not ever going to start, whatever, I'm going to sell it. Or maybe you play the ComC flip game, or you do other things, you're scouring on eBay for deals. You could have got this card for $8.50. Everybody could see that Daniel Jones was having an absolutely atrocious season. Some people didn't think they would ever dare to bench him, much less release him, because of all the money that they had put into him. Obviously, that wasn't the case. So now this card is up, and this isn't going to, help you pay off your house or retire early, but it's up 262% to $30.75. So the point being, you can flip a lot of these backup quarterbacks. Here we've got his rookie contenders ticket auto divisional ticket number to 99. That one's up 215%. and some others. His Optic rated rookie autograph, a couple of those, his teal. These are all up in a big-time way over the last 30 days. Now, why do I want to talk about that? Because just be careful. Last year, and we've seen this year over year, this is why I say it's a trend with these backup quarterbacks, we saw both Bailey Zappi and Joshua Dobbs shoot up hard. You can see their charts here during the season when they got starts and they were winning games, and now look at what's happened to them since then. You've got Zappi, who's actually down 88.3%. So at the high point last year, this card sold for $60, is now selling for $3.04. And you've got Dobbs, who topped out at $108, who's now down to $35 from last year. So be careful. These cards very much seem to be either about people who just get caught up in the hype and they want to buy them, or about people who like to play that flip element, almost like sports betting or daily fantasy in the card market. So if you're holding Tommy DeVito cards, especially after that start last week, the Giants aren't going to make the playoffs. All I'm saying is just be careful. If you like to collect them, collect them. Maybe wait to buy some so that when they come down, you can buy them and save yourself a little bit more money. But in any event, our number 4 card this week, Tommy DeVito. All right, coming in at number 3 this week, it is Chase Brown, the now running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Bengals will exit their bye week with a 4-7 record, something fans certainly did not expect this year. They lost to the Chiefs by just 1 point. They lost to the Ravens twice by 1 point and 3 points. They lost to the Commanders, Patriots, and Chargers by a touchdown or less. There have been a lot of close games this year and a lot of strong performances by Joe Burrow. You got to imagine if they would have won 3 of those games, if the script were flipped and they were 7-4, Burrow would be probably in the top 2 for MVP odds right now. And to add to it, they just let Joe Mixon go in the offseason, and all he has done is turn back the clock and average 112 yards per game with 11 touchdowns in 9 games so far this year for the Texans. But this is about Chase Brown, who's perhaps been a pleasant surprise as a former 5th-round draft pick. Brown's had an impressive game against the Chargers last week, really 2 Sundays ago, recording 146 all-purpose yards and 27 touches. This season, he's averaging 4.3 yards per carry with 814 yards combined rushing and receiving and 7 touchdowns. All of his cards as tracked by market movers are up 16.2% collectively over the last 30 days on 48 different cards, totaling 101 sales. So we're looking at a few of his different cards, his 2023 Rookie Prism autographs. And again, this is another case of players who were lower draft picks, 5th-round draft pick. If you like to open boxes or you find these in the value bins or that type of a thing, you can pick these cards up and you can sit and wait on them. Many cases, the upside is much higher than the downside when you can get players for a really low price to start out. These are some of the ones that you see the biggest percent changes on within a given season when players get hot, simply because they're so cheap that they spike up to many multiples, typically above where they were. So this one is rookie autograph silver raw, up to $50. That's a 124% increase in the last 30 days. We've got his rookie ticket auto out of Contenders Optic. That one's up to $20. You could have had that one for as low as $10. And then we've got his Contenders Optic auto silver here. That card's up to $59 recently. Not a lot of graded stuff out there so far for Chase Brown. So if you believe in him long term, if you believe that the Bengals could somehow miraculously turn this season around and make a run in the playoffs, probably a really, really long shot, maybe you want to speculate on some of Chase Brown's cards. Obviously, some people are doing that, or maybe it's just Bengals fans. But he's having a nice season, and this week, Chase Brown is our number 3 card. Coming at number 2 this week, it is Jamus Winston of the Cleveland Browns, their quarterback. Now, the Browns, they have little hope, if any, of getting into the playoffs this year. The Browns are looking to play spoiler as they wrap up the 2024 season and have shifted gears over to Jamus Winston after Deshaun Watson suffered a season-ending injury a little over a month ago. Now, Jamus Winston may not have lit up the scoreboard in last Thursday's primetime game against the Steelers, but he did lead them on a game-winning touchdown drive in the snow, which Nick Chubb punched in from 2 yards out for the win. So my question is, when can we get Jamus as host of SNL? This guy is comedy gold. All of his cards as tracked by market movers are up 25.5% collectively over the last 30 days. And we'll look at a few of those. Specifically over the last 2 weeks, he started to see some traction back up. The win last week, I think, got people excited. Maybe the sound bites did too. Here's his Topps Chrome Refractor PSA 10. That card, like you can see, is actually up 12% over the last 30 days. There was a dip down to $5.50, believe it or not, for a PSA 10 rookie refractor. That's wild. That card now more recently up to $42. You've got his orange refractor. That one's up 250% over the last 30 days, 1,518% over the last 14 days. That one dipped down to, and then his Contenders rookie ticket auto. So kind of interesting to see what's happening here. Jamus is getting some buzz. It's not like he's exactly lighting things up. He's the type of player who will come out one week and maybe have 350, 400 yards passing. He'll throw for like 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. The next week, it won't be so great. The next week, he'll be streaky. He's a fun guy to listen to. He's a fun guy, I guess, sometimes to watch. The Browns have got to be probably relieved to see him out there instead of Deshaun Watson, who has just been such a disaster for the organization. We'll see what happens with Jamus the rest of the way. Personally, just my opinion, I wouldn't be banking on these cards riding high the rest of the season. We've seen him over each of the last 2 years crack our top 5 for this same type of dynamic, and then they come back down to earth. You let me know down in the comments what you think about Jamus the rest of the way, and if we'll ever see him on SNL, our number 2 card this week, Jamus Winston. All right, that brings us to our number 1 hot card this week, but before we do, please go out to the App Store and download Market Movers and just try it out completely for free. It is game-changing. You can use the quick search completely for free, no login required. You can use our 4.3 million card featured database. Cards from everybody from Jordan and, Mahomes and everybody else, all the way down to the Tommy DeVitos of the world. We've got cards tracked of all those players, 4.3 million cards with pricing. And then we've got pricing for every single card in our sales history section with comps. We're tracking 11 different marketplaces. You can get Cards HQ data, the only app on the market with that type of retail data available. Go download it for free and try it out. And if you want to actually try out all the features, you can do that by default in the App Store. You'll get 7 days for free to try it out. So go check out Market Movers and let me know what you think down below. Now, number 1 this week, the quarterback for the Denver Broncos, it is Bo Nix. The Broncos have surprised a lot of fans this year as they enter their bye week with a 7-5 record. If you had told me before the season who's going to leave their bye week with a better record, the Bengals or the Broncos, I would have bet a strong amount of money on it being the other team that starts with a B, the Bengals. Now, after a slow start to his rookie year, Nix has led the charge for the Broncos and has been pivotal in their recent wins. Nix's consistent performances have positioned him as a strong contender for NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. He was drafted 12th overall in this year's NFL Draft, and all of his cards, as tracked by Market Movers, are up 51.6% collectively over the last 30 days. So first thing I wanted to do here was just sort of compare him to some of the top rookie quarterbacks from the last, 7 years or so. I've pulled up C.J. Stroud, Deshaun Watson, I know, not the career we were hoping for, but Deshaun started out his career fantastically. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and Trevor Lawrence. These are all kind of going back year over year to see, who performed the best in a given season. And Bo Nix, he's having a nice season. You can use the green to sort of see how he stacks up against other players. Obviously, he hasn't finished it yet. He's got 12 games, 5 to go. C.J. Stroud had a fantastic rookie season. He's unfortunately taken a step back this year in terms of his productivity and performance. He's definitely in somewhat of a sophomore slump, it seems like. Watson had a fantastic year. But I think there's a theme here, and that's that some of these players who have solid rookie campaigns, although T-Law really didn't. He had 12 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. But many of these other players, they have fantastic rookie years, but what does that actually mean long term? NFL quarterbacks are the cards that people go after. They're the ones with the highest price premium. And in many cases, they are the ones that let people down the most long term. So take that into consideration. Bo Nix having a fantastic year, maybe Rookie of the Year contender. Broncos are playing well, vying for playoff spots. We'll see what they do then. But is Bo Nix the type of player who you believe can become one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL? My opinion, probably not when I stack it all up, but some of you may believe in that. Who knows? He is a little bit older. He's 24 years old already. That might be working to his advantage, just having played more football. Maybe that's helping him with his reads and just maturity in the league. But then again, the ability to put up big stat accolades long term and those types of things. Bo Nix seems like a shiny new object, as I call them, but not necessarily the long-term investment piece. Again, you guys let me know down in the comments. Let's look at his cards over the last 30 days, and they're definitely red hot. We've got his Bowman University auto. It's been really fun to see these Bowman U products come out with the first, insignia, or first little logo on them. And those have actually held up pretty well. We've seen Prism draft picks in years past come out really hot and then crash and not have a lot of staying power. It seems like Bowman U has done something a little bit different. So we've got this PSA 10 here. This is Pop 72. It's the refractor, and this card is up 118% over the last 30 days. Another one here, you can see Pop 94 PSA 10. This is the base prospect auto. That one up 23% over the last 30 days. Here's a nice card, his Downtown. We know everybody loves Downtowns. This is out of Donruss this year. This is the raw version. That one's up 29%. We've got his Optic Red Pandora, number 369. That one up 305% in raw condition. And finally, his Elite Base Rookie number /99. Really nice looking card. Looks like a blank slate. Not sure how much I love the fact that they made a card look like a blank slate that's not, but the design is clean and nice. That card up 168%, up to $37.50. So Knicks, depending on what happens with the Broncos the rest of the way this year, if they win several more games, well, they've got, 5 games left, but if they win 3 of those, lose 2, make it into the playoffs, potentially pull off an early win, he is the type of guy that I could see his cards going up, especially if he keeps playing like he has over the last 3, 4, 5 games. Then again, if he has any setbacks, if the Broncos don't win out, this is the type of stuff that could come crashing back down to earth. So a lot of uncertainties around this. Knicks has been a fun player to watch. He was a guy before the season that was very polarizing. I covered him over on my Market Movers channel. So you let me know, what do you think of Bo Nix at number 1 this week? And definitely let me know what you think is going to happen with his cards the rest of the way. He's our number 1 card going up this week. All right, that does it for this week's top 5 cards. Make sure to check out the Whatnot link and get $15 in free credit when you sign up through Whatnot. And check out cardshq.com for all of our Black Friday sales. If you're in the Atlanta area or you live here, come on in on Friday. We'll be closed Thursday, but come in Friday and check out all the deals and have some Black Friday fun, ripping cards with you friends and family, and maybe just by yourself. Until next time, thanks so much for watching. Happy investing, keep on collecting, and make sure to have fun.